you know that we have a downtown, which is on the right or on the left of my screen, really thriving center city district. And we have at the other end, 4 miles down, a pretty incredible cultural district called University Circle, where all our cultural eds and meds are. And what has resulted over time is two kind of thriving downtowns in a city that were not connected. And so the question we asked is, along a fairly recent bus rapid transit connecting these two centers, could we do something in the middle to make sure that over time we might have one connected city? And at the same time, between these two centers, you have a story of redlining, which has happened in the middle. So downtown is on the left and University Circle is on the right. And this redlining map represents neighborhoods in the middle, north and south of this corridor that have had tremendous disinvestment, the effects of redlining, structural racism, infrastructure investments have separated some important Black neighborhoods to the north and south from really benefiting from some of the real transformation going on in Cleveland. And so this yellow star shows exactly where we're locating our headquarters and our offices in the middle. And it's fair to say that our moving into the middle is not about building a building. It's about a 30, 50-year transformation of these East Side neighborhoods and connecting all of the growth and investment that's going on in Cleveland today. So this shows the intersection directly in the middle of Euclid Avenue and East 66th Street, where we are building our Cleveland Foundation headquarters. But it shows the development of a new civic and innovation district that will create a heart here that will turn what is a very east-west city into one that is going to turn north-south. And Joy is going to talk a little bit about the incredible efforts to connect the Huff neighborhood to the north and the central neighborhood to the south to all of this activity. And so the Cleveland Foundation, with partners, we have many partners, we are not doing this alone, has acquired about 11 acres in the middle here. And these collection of buildings do not exist today, but show this kind of center point that we are building here with some really important program to engage the community. This next slide shows early rendering from our architect. If you know Pascal Sablan, she is the architect who worked with us from New York. She is only the 315th licensed Black female architect in the country. She is young, in her 30s, a kind of rising star who came to the community and worked with us to really think about what does it mean for a community foundation to move into the community. And we like to start with this rendering to show that this is what our lobby will look like. We are going to turn philanthropy outward, be more transparent, design a building that programmatically engages the community. It's not about offices. It feels warm and welcoming. We're building a mass timber building that for this site here is important that it not feel like an institutional building where you don't feel like it's home. And so this has been our North Star for the design of our actual building and program, so that everybody feels welcome, whether you're a resident coming from Huff or whether you're a donor who's coming to the Cleveland Foundation. Everyone is welcome. And the first floor of our building has tremendous program that is new to the Cleveland Foundation. Just to show you, East 66th Street is on the top and Euclid Avenue to the south. This is the earliest rendering of program on the first floor for the Cleveland Foundation. All of the program on the first floor and these arrows show that we're building a building that doesn't have just one front door. It will be porous and engaging our small grants program, Neighborhood Connections, will move here with us and I'll be operating nights and weekends. We'll have a front door on Euclid and East 66th Street. We'll have a conference center that's free and open to the community and opens out to the park with all kind of retractable glass to really feel like you can come in. And then a very important piece of program on the corner is a new cafe that will be managed by a nonprofit called the Help Foundation and Persons with Disabilities. And this was also designed to be open inside the building, but to be able to operate nights and weekends, to add life to an area that doesn't have a lot of retailer places to gather. And so our entire first floor is really about gathering. And we heard with Pascal out in the community that residents wanted to feel like there was something for them here, and that all of the program and even some of the exhibitions that we're doing in the space are being curated and designed by the community residents. And Joy will tell you more about that as we go. Here's a rendering from the park side to show how the mass timber and this idea of transparency reflects in the architecture itself. And the idea is that this building represents the incredible history of the site. We're locating on a park that has a historic building on it, so it is sensitive to the historic nature of the site where we're locating, but is also contemporary and forward-thinking and warm. And this is the district plan as it's developing. Our building is here. The park, which I described here, which has the oldest structure in Cleveland, built on a foundation, creates what will be an engaging civic space that we are connecting to the community along redesigning a 1 mile stretch through Huff that Joy is going to talk about, how the community is leading that, and we are supporting the community in redesigning this street, which is 1 mile from this center all the way to what is Superior Avenue. And along this 1 mile stretch sits some of the most important historic assets. Leak Park, where the Cleveland Guardians used to play, a new library. There's some housing being developed, an important community center called Fatima, and Chateau Huff, which is an urban winery created by a Black leader here in Cleveland that is in the community along this stretch that we're working on. The importance of this 1 mile is that right now the street is impassable. The sidewalks are not really continuous. And we, with the community, and Joy is going to tell you how we're redesigning this entire 1 mile stretch to have a 10-foot recreational multi-purpose path that the residents decided they wanted to be able to connect from these assets down through to this park in a really, really intentional and structural way that is separated by infrastructure currently. So with this, I'm going to turn it over to Joy, who's going to talk about how we have done this in a whole new way, how a table has been set of 30 and 40 residents and community leaders that we all participate in over the last 3 and 4 years. And the community is leading the design and the community engagement of this entire process. So with that, I'm turning it over to my colleague Joy, who is an amazing, amazing leader at the foundation who has led this work in the community.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lillian. So my previous role as the Senior Manager of Community Empowerment at Midtown Cleveland, I had the honor of sharing spaces and building relationships with residents in the Midtown and Huff community. The elders informed me that Midtown and Huff was once the epicenter of food, fun, and entertainment in the late 60s and 70s. On Euclid Avenue, there was a plethora of jazz venues and restaurants and Black-owned businesses. And one jazz venue in particular that thrived during this time was an interracial club by the name of Leo's Casino. It was the stomping ground for icons such as Stevie Wonder, Aretha Franklin, and Otis Redding had his last concert there before he passed away. Receiving this history lesson, it sparked the conversation for residents to think of the idea of rallying together to develop to establish a community advisory board that develops community-led programming to commemorate the long-lost history of Euclid Avenue. This is what birthed the Leo's Listening Party initiative. Next slide. And Leo's Listening Party is a community-led initiative that started off with, doing community concerts in the neighborhood, where we invited the residents and their neighbors to gather to celebrate the music of yesterday. And now it's less more about the music and more so about reclaiming permanent space in the neighborhood. Reclaiming permanent space in the neighborhood. One second. And reclaiming permanent space in the neighborhood. And with those efforts, we decided to kick off a dinner and dialogue series where we invited partners and civic leaders and residents to have a conversation about the needs and wants of the community in a dinner family style approach. And in this space, we established various of businesses and ideas in a vision where residents would come together to more so see how we can bring this plan into fruition. And in this process, we mapped out, what does this businesses look like? Who is missing from the conversation? And who will all deem a role in making sure this process comes to fruition? Next slide. And with that approach, that community engagement style, that kitchen table conversation style is what sparked our initial process in engaging community going forward, particularly in our community engagement efforts for East 66th Street. We partnered with well-renowned artists and respected artists in Cleveland, such as Lexi Lattimore and Daniel Gray Contour, to lead this community engagement efforts for East 66th Street, which is very important because they saw this through the lens of artists and pedestrians, and not from the perspective of urban planners or city architectures or from the perspective of developers. They led various of focus groups from youth, seniors, mothers, fathers, and leaders of the community. And they asked them, how would you like to experience the corridor? And what does the 21st century look like for you? And in the conversation, what was very moving is when we heard from the youth and they expressed their concerns, their ideas, and their vision for their neighborhood. And, with that approach, we wanted to advocate the youth and we wanted to provide a space for them to share their voice in those conversations around activation. And we invited them to be a part of the planning processes for the East 66th Street streetscape planning. That's a tongue twister. Next slide. And the youth worked with city planners and architects and different neighboring community partners and other focus groups to establish and inform the redevelopment plan of this East 66th Street and what that development would look like and how we would operate and move along the street and what would those businesses look like and what this activation look like. And from that continued collaboration, they kicked off and formed what we are calling now the Huff Youth Advisory Board, which is compiled of youth of the ages of 18 to 24 years old who are dedicated and love and value their neighborhood and want to be a part of the revitalization of their community. Next slide. And in my experience, working in the community, I was very intentional with my approach to community engagement. It was not a transactional approach. It was about really developing trust and building strong relationships. I listened as they advocated for the urgency of more communal spaces for families and youth to gather with their friends. I listened as they said that they wanted that Huff to be a destination for more Black and Brown businesses and to create more opportunities for land ownership. And they advocated for, preserving the history and the identity of their neighborhood. And with the move to Midtown, we will continue to have these conversations with experts of the community, such as the Huff Youth Advisory Board and the leaders of the community and residents, to create and partner and work together to establish a strategic plan to action that will greatly impact future neighborhoods of Huff, Midtown, and the surrounding communities. Thank you so much.
And just to close out, we're going to take questions. I would like to just say in closing that this move for the Cleveland Foundation also coincides with a 10-year strategic vision and planning process that we're going through as we will move here. We're under construction of our building and we'll move in a year from today. It's already up and out of the ground. But we recognize in philanthropy that we have a lot of work to do ourselves. And so we are doing that hard work and kind of taking a hard look at ourselves as an institution. And from that strategic planning, we are shifting to working with the community instead of for the community. And as we move in here, I think it represents this change that we are trying to work on for ourselves in terms of how we will operate and be open and welcoming in the community. And that is top down, not just in terms of our grant making, but our entire structure of our foundation and board, and what it will mean to be with the community and in the community. So with that, we will close out and take questions. And I'm going to stop sharing so that you can see us, or I can see you more, and we'll go from there. So Elaine's going to help us with the questions.
Yeah, so anyone, if you want to drop your questions in the chat, I'm happy to share that with the presenters. Or if you want to raise your hand, you can jump on screen and ask your question yourself. So, floor is open.
Sorry, I lost you for a second.
No, it's okay, you're back. We've got a question from Katie. It says, your process for designing your space with the community is beautiful. Can you talk more about your plans for the programming in the space and how it will involve community?
Sure. I think I'll let Joy talk too, but I see she's not on, so I'll kick off first. One of the things that we've established within our building is, I didn't talk about it, but through the main corridor on the first floor is an exhibition space. And instead of the foundation deciding what we show in this exhibition corridor, which anyone coming to the foundation is always going to walk through and see it, is that we are modeling the space after the Wing Luke Museum, actually in Seattle, that we have been meeting with and has helped us design a process by which the community decides what stories are told, and that they lead the development of an exhibition that will stay up a year and rotate. So this is just one example. We have 4 young emerging diverse curators who are working with 5 youth and 5 residents, and they are the advisory board for our first exhibition. We are paying stipends to all the residents and youth to participate there. We believe one of our other things we are changing is that people's time is as valuable as ours. So the entire curatorial team and residents and youth are paid over a year to develop the exhibition. And this is a new program that we will do every year. It might have different neighborhoods represented in this exhibition and led by different curators and residents, but this first year is led by 5 youth in Huff and 5 residents and this incredibly talented young diverse curatorial team. And so that's very different from us. We are just providing the platform and the resources to do this, but every aspect of the programming in our first floor is we're working with the community to decide what should be there and how it works. I didn't talk about it, but we are putting a full multi-purpose space with a sprung dance floor for dance and other music inside the building. All of this will be free and open to nonprofits. And so this is very different from us. We are going from the same amount of square footage to the same amount here, but our staff, and we're having a much more efficient design for what a foundation office should be. All of our staff, when we get there, all 100 staff will have laptops only, are expected not just to work at their desks, but throughout the building. And we're having a whole way that our staff should work out in the community as well. So it'll be very mobile and kind of future for office in the way that I think foundations have had people come to them and meet with them at the foundation. That is not what we're doing. We are redesigning also how we operate so that our entire staff and not just program is going to be out in the community and with the community.
We've got two other similar questions. Apologies if I missed this, but when will the project be completed? And how soon can we all visit?
We're under construction. I could show you. We have a live webcam. I probably should have pulled it up. That we are monitoring on a daily basis live. It's pretty cool. So the mass timber just started going up this past couple weeks. It's super cool. We will be in, we're going to have a huge community celebration October 1st of next year. So we're on track and on schedule and on budget. So yes, and you're all welcome. You're welcome to come ahead of time and have a hard hat tour if you want. But you know, that's for our building and the streetscape project. We and Joy's been part of this. We have applied as a whole community to the new Biden RAISE program for $14 million to build the redevelop East 66th Street as quickly as possible. And that is in final engineering right now. And we're hoping for some infrastructure dollars for that. But the vision of this district, as I said, just like in Playhouse Square, is a 30-year vision. So there are multiple projects happening now. 2 have broken ground in addition to ours. The new Huff branch library is under construction, and manufacturing training center called Magnet is also under construction in the district as well. So you'll have to come and then come back and then come back again, because this is a 30-year vision. But well, you're all welcome next year to come have a tour any day of the week. So
that sounds amazing. I think that this is just such a great model to like be replicated in other cities. So I really appreciate you all sharing. We can also definitely, the live cam sounds really cool. We can definitely share that out with participants afterwards if you want to send it to me. And I'll give everyone one last opportunity for questions, but we are actually over time. So if there's no more questions, we'll go ahead and head back to the main square.
Thank you all. Thank you, Joy.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.